People often say that Jat Pindate tat Brahmande, Jat Brahmande that tat Pindate. That is the origin of the universe. In Hinduism, the origin of universe is considered omnipresent because according to Sankhya philosophy, the Purusha, that is the mathematical and the geometric structure, and that cannot be born, right? You can't create a prime number. Prime numbers are omnipresent. So, how is it that universe got created? I mean, how do we envision a theory for that? So, Amrita Bindu Upanishad, there are 108 number of Upanishads, and one of them is Amrita Bindu. And there we find the talk about three different types of points. So, point or a bindu or a moment or a tiny dot that does not have any dimension, where there is no time. That dot is considered as a point where the whole universe exists. So that means if you go anywhere in this universe, you will find that at the elementary level there is a dot, and if you go inside a dot, the whole universe you will find over there. So it's paradoxical way of creating or originating the universe. But there are three types of bindu, or three types of points in Hinduism. So point is, all points are not equal. Okay, so the point could be Mahabindu, parabindu, or Shunya bindu. Let me explain today what are these three types of bindus are there, and you will find the beautiful philosophy that has created completely, I mean, different kind of concepts for three kind of bindus, three kind of points, and all these 3 points are complementary to each other. I mean, you can't think anything beyond this or even less than this. So you can't delete, okay, this definition of bindu, this type of, this class of bindu, I don't need it. So Mahabindu is a concept where there is superposition of all possibilities. It means singularity. It means all possible rules, regulations, possibilities, choices that there could be in the elementary scale or constituents of the fundamental constituents of the universe all coexist at all values. So it means you can't define it, and it becomes a singularity. So in mathematics, singularity is defined as all possible values. In contrast to that, when you go to parabindu, it is like all different variables are there. Whatever there varies. I mean, different forces vary, different kind of interactions vary, fundamental constants vary, everything varies. However, before they start diverging from each other, imagine a global minima. Okay, you are at the point, and there is a subtle change moment after. All of them would leave the equilibrium point. That is parabindu. So while Mahabindu, everything coexists simultaneously, parabindu coexists, but it is the subtle beginning of a complete divergence. On the other hand, Shunya bindu is a beautiful concept of equilibrium of everything. It means, say you have one variable at different dimensions. Different dimensions means it is not just you have a sphere and you go to the center, radially go to the outward 360-degree solid angle, and 360-degree by n. So if in dimension 360-degree by n. So each solid angle, you will have a radial vector outward. So no, not that kind of quantum mechanical definition of dimension. Dimension means one dimension to another dimension. In Hinduism, is like just like loka. So one day I will make I will give a talk only on loka, on the concept of loka. But here, dimension is just take it as it is. Loka means the whole definitions, even physics laws, fundamentally become different. So you can't transfer one object from one loka to another, so one dimension to another. So it is not like the rotate in a imaginary phase space. You just rotate a little angle and then you reach from one dimension to another. You can't do this. It's an orthogonal transformation you need to do in the volumetric density of states of another universe, where you can only project, and projection comes through sattvaguna. So basically what you can do is you can take all the concepts, what are the elements which are not changing in this universe, fundamental constants, those are the variables in the other universe. So basically gravitational constant, epsilon, the dielectric constant, magnetic permeability, and so many, velocity of light, whatever the constants that you have, those are constant in this universe. Another universe or loka in another dimension, it will be it will be a variable. So those things will be variable and they will constitute like that. So that's the concept of dimension in Hinduism. So now that is not the mathematics or quantum mechanics or any modern science that is related to. It's purely philosophical. It's a completely different type. You can create a mathematics for Vedic definition of dimension also. That can be done. That is not a difficult thing to do. So now in Shunya Bindu, you have many different dimensions, and all the dimensions, this variable goes there, variable invariant, variable invariant, variable invariant channel, and then another one, and then another one, another one. But all of them, all of their dimensions interacting with each other, and interacting in such a way that there is no effective outcome of the whole outside. So it's nothing. I repeat, in case of Mahabindu, what you do is every single variable fluctuates so rapidly and in all the dimensions that every single possible values are there for every variable. So you see, one thing you have understood by now, that three different definitions of Bindu is so different. It's a whole new concept altogether. So it's dimensionless. It's a point. You can do counting and whatever you want to do according to Sankhya philosophy, or later you can get into different kind of arguments. But for Mahabindu, you have to have a situation of all possible values at the same time at every moment that you consider. While in Shunya Bindu, all the variables exist. You don't have to be all the values, you don't have to accept. The interaction will be such that totally sum of all the possible interactions is zero, null. That's why Shunya. So you understand that when Hindus wrote zero, it's not nothing. It's completeness, it's Purna. So why it was Purna in the number system? Because Shunya has a completely different concept in Hinduism. It's when Arabs learned from Hindus the number system, and then they taught Europeans, the actual flavor of the difference between Purna and Shunya got diluted. They took zero means nothing because it's a counting of a businessman. So it's a businessman mindset when you say zero is actually nothing. Zero is Purna. Purna to one, unit of consciousness. From one, it becomes duality to confirm that, okay, that one exists. And then number three comes, okay, there is an interaction between the two humans. So one of them exists. Their consciousness exists. So this is the kind of a situation where Shunya becomes distinct. You can't use it anywhere. It's a holy and the most fundamental concept of Hinduism. So these three definitions of point, we are inching into a situation when you will be able to feel that what are these three different kind of points are all about. So so all different dimensions, you have these variables. It can stay at any one. It is not that at every level. Then we will go to Mahabindu. So, and many such variables, they are all going net. It's a very zigzag diamond. Third dimension of this variable is interacting with the seventh dimension of that variable. You have seen this. If you do tensor mathematics, tensor product of two vectors, you write orthogonal and vertical and horizontal, and then you create a tensor, then you know that this kind of situation always arises. We do it always in mathematics. But you normalize a tensor to 1, and here you normalize to 0. That is the difference between modern mathematics and the Hindu mathematics, where they make it 0 when Shunya Bindu is concerned. However, now you are a little confused. Your Mahabindu and Shunya Bindu is very clear, I understand. Because take one variable, all possible values, take another variable, all possible values. It's a total mess. It's a singularity. It's undefined. But you can't define Shunya. You can't define Shunya Bindu. Of course, it is undefined because all possible interactions in interdimensions. But at one layer, you can have only one. So, so it also gets undefined Shunya Bindu, but not as the way Mahabindu is undefined. Now let's come to parabindu, which is at the global minima of the whole universe. And at that point, all the possible interactions reaching an equilibrium. And this equilibrium and Shunya Bindu's equilibrium has a difference. Shunya Bindu's equilibrium is that multidimensional, multidirectional, and multivariate kind of entanglement, kind of a situation that is over there. Here in parabindu, this is all the variables, all the possibilities are coupled in a situation that is non-separable. So you know that when in quantum mechanics, when you add three wave functions, superposition, you add the wave functions, C1 psi1 plus C2 psi2 plus C3 psi3. So that means three different wave functions with a coefficient to multiply and add, though their fundamental characters are not destroyed. So when you are talking about Mahabindu or Shunya Bindu, then we were not destroying, we are keeping the identity of all contributors intact. But parabindu is a product of the wave functions that you see in entanglement, that is psi1 into psi2 into psi3. So what happens is basically you reach a situation when the individual identity is under question. That is also a singularity. That is also undefinedness. But in this case, you can't keep your separate, distinguishable identity. It's totally overlapped. So I don't exist without all the other things. I cannot be defined. None of my properties could exist. And the point it is going out, that means from the product phase, when it goes to the sum, the beginning of that point, that particular point is the parabindu. So this is how these three bindus or three types of points are different. And universe now, which one shall we consider to create the universe? Jat Pindate, tat Brahmande. Jat Brahmande, tat Pindate. The Pinda is not a piece of meat. Okay, so Pinda is never piece of meat. In Shraddha, when my father died, we did Shraddha. We give food, we call it Pinda. Why? Because that goes to the point. That goes to the undefined region where my father has went. Because everybody has to go to that point, the non-physical realm. So those, if somebody says Pindate means a piece of meat, you will never see it. I mean, millions of people do Shraddha, the last rites of their forefathers, and you will see take rice and make a manda. It's like spear, and that becomes, because everything, all possible elements will go into a single point. So that is the symbolic gesture by which you do mathematics. So every single act of Hinduism is designed in such a way that you carry out the fundamental laws of the universe into your life act. That's how we design festivals, that's how we design dress, that's how we design food. So if whatever you do, you are doing the religion. So you don't need to go to temple or do other things. So Jat Pindate, that Brahmande, that Bindu is a superposition and entanglement of both the properties, isn't it? Because you have to take the parabindu, where you have entanglement, product, self distinguishability disappears, and Mahabindu or Shunya Bindu, distinguishability exists, but it disappears in a different way. So plus. So when you take plus, addition, product, and combine both of them in an unknown relationship, a mysterious relationship, then that is the Bindu from which universe got created. Because without these three, think about it, without these three different perspectives, you can't create the universe. And if you have these three perspectives, you don't need anything else other than this to create the universe. Thank you very much. Do subscribe my channel and follow so that you can get similar kind of videos regularly. And I have now piles of this kind of knowledge which I want to share before I die, and that's why I have created this channel, and I hope that people will get benefited, and it will be great for all of us.